Budget magic time. Playing some Gearhulk Gift Reanimator in standard. Wandering Funeral for our opponent. This hand really depends on Cathartic Reunion not getting countered. If Cathartic Reunion gets countered, we're going to be in trouble. Oh boy. Island for our opponent. Well, play Inspiring Vantage, pass the turn. I am not sure how we handle this matchup main deck. If this is like blue-red or Grixis control, which it appears to be. Cathartic Reunion is so painful if it gets countered. Oh my goodness, I think we gotta do it. Oh man, this is gonna be bad. Cathartic Reunion, pitch Radiant Flames, pitch Radiant Flames. Do we get 3 for 1? Whew! Oh my goodness, okay. Wow! Not dead, not dead. I mean, I guess the upside is, even if we got 3 for 1, at least the 3 were going to be, well, 2 of the 3 were going to be Radiant Flames, which seem really bad in this matchup. Opponent passes. Well, play a Swamp, and let's Tormenting Voice. Actually, let's try Cathartic Reunion again. Pitch Cataclysmic Gearhulk and Magma Spray. And Tormenting Voice, pitch Foreboding Ruins? Alright, pass the turn. Well, we're getting close to the point of the game where we can just start casting big stuff every turn and hoping that that works. There's a Glimmer for our opponent. So, like, next turn we can just fire off Madcap Experiment, see what happens, and then start firing off... I mean, I wish we had a Combustible. Combustible would be the card I want most, because then we could at least try to refurbish it. The biggest problem is now is Cataclysmic is not a great target for our reanimation. We could also just wait one more turn. Actually, you know what? Let's just play Smoldering Marsh, and let's just run out Cataclysmic. I don't actually really care if it gets countered. It's just a 4/5. Doesn't do anything. But I mean, it's still a 4/5 with Vigilance. I kind of like this line because... Alright, there's the Censor. Well, we got a counter out of our opponent's hand. I like this line because it gives us the possibility of going Madcap Experiment into Cathartic Reunion next turn, or something along those lines. Cathartic Reunion into Madcap Experiment. Basically trying to resolve 2 spells. What we really need is Combustible Gearhulk, though. That's our best... Ooh, alright, new plan. So we're just going to slam Combustible. If our opponent counters it, hopefully it's with a counter that goes to the graveyard. And then we can just keep casting Refurbishes. As in Scatter. Okay. Another counter. Sure. Pass the turn. And another Glimmer. Another Glimmer. So now all we really want to do is just keep reanimating Combustible Gearhulk. And hopefully that will win us the game. Opponent tapping out would be sweet. 6 cards in hand. Makes their land drop. And passes. We draw Canyon Slough. Well, let's start with... So many tap lands. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Let's just Madcap Experiment. I'm expecting our opponent to counter this. I would rather have this counter than a Refurbish. Cycles. Man, maybe they don't have a counter? Alright, there's the counter. Yep. Play Needle Spires. Pass the turn. I mean, at least we're making our opponent work for it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Let's cycle Canyon Slough. Wow, another Refurbish. Ooh, there's an untap land. That's good. So now 1, 2, 3, 4. Refurbish Combustible Gearhulk. Alright, opponent has Torrential to counter. This is actually okay, though, because we have another Refurbish. So our opponent's going to Supreme Will to counter this, and then we just second Refurbish, actually get back Combustible, and put our opponent to the test. Wow. They targeted Essence Scatter? You know this isn't a creature spell, right, opponent? That is what they're targeting, right? Okay. You do that, opponent? I don't know what happened. This clearly says sorcery. That is, I guess, a punt? So we get Combustible. Let's see what our opponent picks. We're pretty fine with either option. Wow! Okay. Well, since our opponent did that, now we get to refurbish Combustible. Oh, that was a good turn. We drew all lands, and our opponent took took 16 off the first combustible. Cut to ribbons, noxious Gearhulk, refurbish. And now we have lethal all kinds of ways. We also milled the cut to ribbons, so our opponent can't let us flash that back or they're dead. They can't get hit by combustible Gearhulk or they're dead. They're just, I mean, all kinds of things kill our opponent here. It would have went better for them, slightly. Even if they didn't punt, though, we would have still got back combustible and dealt our opponent a ton of damage. So it still wouldn't have been bad. 1 Gearhulk down with a braid. 2 Gearhulks down with harness lightning. Well, now the question is, does our opponent have another counter? Opponent gets in with torrential Gearhulk. All right. And passes. We draw noxious. Oh, if we had an untapped land. All right, let's think about this. Let's start with Cathartic Reunion. Pitch 2 lands. And now we refurbish Noxious Gearhulk. Resolves. Kills Torrential. Oh, maybe we could have just won. Heh. Play Needle Spires. Pass the turn. Well, we're presenting lethal again. And we have a God-Pharaoh's Gift in hand. And we still have Cut to Ribbons. Maybe we should have went more aggressive there. Opponent plays Fumarole. Is this Nicole Bolas? 4 mana. 5 mana. Hour of Devastation. Alright, that's fine. I think this does it. I think we win from here. Maybe. Tormenting Voice. I mean, I feel like this is a pretty safe attack. Our opponent's only got blue mana up. And Needle Spires is 4. So I don't think they'd have anything in blue that ruins this. Alright. Whoo! We dodged the counters and managed to get the win. That was pretty sweet. Okay, what are we going down in this control matchup? I feel like we want Doomfalls, Transgress the Mines, and maybe Obnixilis. Go down Magma Sprays. Go down Radiant Flames. Maybe go down a Cut to Ribbons. Cut to Ribbons is weird. It doesn't kill anything, but the flashback is actually, or the aftermath, I guess, is actually pretty nice. And maybe we got to go down a Cathartic Reunion. It's so painful when it gets countered. And maybe go up 1 more Never to return. Maybe we just go 3 and 3. Let's try that with our Tormenting Voice effects. Okay. We have a lot of expensive stuff. Hopefully we draw some lands. I mean, this is going to be a slow matchup, so I think it's fine to keep a slow hand. Smoldering Marsh, go. Would love to have this Tormenting Voice resolve. Opponent, Island, and passes. Well, let's just play Needle Spires, pass the turn. I don't think there's any reason to run Tormenting Voice into a Censor there. Censor's pretty good against us. Next turn, we can maybe force our opponent's hand with this Doomfall, and either make them counter it or Thoughtseize. Inspiring Vantage. Well, drawing lands is nice. Yeah, let's just Doomfall. Best case, we get to take a card. Worst case, we get a counter out of our opponent's hand. So we kind of win either way. I'd rather it not be a Censor. It's a Censor. Alright, well, I mean, it's still a counter out of our opponent's hand, and with the way our hand's looking, we're going to be tapping out a lot, so eating a Censor isn't the worst. Opponent has an Ether Hub, gets some energy, and passes. Well, since we drew another Doomfall, I think we just Doomfall again. Opponent counters. Well, we've got rid of 2 counters with Doomfalls. Hopefully we do keep drawing lands. Next turn, we probably just run out Madcap Experiment. Opponent passing. Well, you know what? I think let's just Tormenting Voice, pitch Cut. If our opponent wants to spend a counter on this, that's fine. We wanted to discard this Cut to Ribbons anyway. Opponent glimmers. Yep. Well, I think this is fine for us. Hopefully we hit a land drop. Ooh, 2 land drops. All right. So play Canyon Slough, pass the turn. And now we're to the point where we just play Haymakers until our opponent gives up. That's our plan. Just play really impactful spells every single turn and hope that we run our opponent out of counters. So opponent plays Ether Hub and passes. We'll play a Plains, and I think we just lead on Madcap Experiment since it plays around Censor. Opponent, gonna draw. Okay. What do we get? Not Cataclysmic. Please not Cataclysmic. Cataclysmic. Well, would have rather had Combustible there. This is not a great Cataclysmic matchup for the most part, but we can't really take it out because we need it to be an artifact in our deck. Like, it's still an artifact that does things. So let's pass the turn. Opponent has a Braid to kill our Cataclysmic. Yep. And Dragon Master Outcast. That can be a problem. Now we really need this Noxious Gearhulk to resolve. Well, I mean, we gotta go for it. Opponent probably has a counter. Noxious. Yep. Oh, man, we didn't even have a land, so we get censored. Now our opponent gets to start making dragons. Yeah. We did not prepare properly for Dragon Master Outcast. And our opponent had a million counters. Opponent plays a tap land. Yeah, I feel like we're probably pretty far out of this game now. Oh, man, getting Gearhulk censored is painful. Opponent gets in for one. Yep. And passes. I mean, I guess we just try again, but if this gets countered, I think the game ends. So, Noxious Gearhulk. Opponent has mana for Torrential as well. There's an Essence Scatter. I guess we can wait one more turn, but I think we're pretty dead now. So we drop to 10. Even if we get back Cataclysmic and somehow nothing goes wrong, I think we're still dead. There's Nicole Bolas. Yeah. And that does it. We can't beat that, and we're not going to show our opponent any more cards than we have to. Oh, dear. So our opponent's... Dragon Master Outcast. In theory, we have things that deal with that. We do have some removal. All right, let's run it back. I think this is a fine setup for the control matchup. We are on the play this time, and I would feel much better if we had untap lands for Cathartic Reunion. I guess we could draw one. If we draw any mountain or swamp, we have the untap land. Opponent's going to 6. Keeping it 6. And leaving a card on top. Well, Cinder Barons go. So yeah, untap land would make our day. Or a land to make Foreboding Ruins enter untapped. Because then we can discard these Gearhulks, get some new cards, and resolve Cathartic Reunion before our opponent has counters up. Opponent's passing. Alright, deck. One time, untap land. Ooh, okay, that works. That actually works. Foreboding Ruins. And now we get to safely Cathartic Reunion, pitching double Gearhulk, and pass the turn. So no white mana, but we did find a Madcap Experiment, which isn't bad. Smoldering Marsh. Well, that's Foreboding Ruins. Reveal the Swamp, and just Tormenting Voice, pitch a Smoldering Marsh. There's some more Gearhulks. Pass the turn. Opponent plays a tap land. Censor's annoying. Ooh. Well, let's play a Swamp and just Doomfall here. This plays around Censor. Opponent's hand. Essence Scatter. Supreme Will. Dragon Master Outcast. Torrential Glimmer. Well, I think we take the Supreme Will and plan on spinning our Madcap wheel next turn. Opponent gets an Ether Hub. We knew about that, so they could still draw a counter. Opponent passes. Well, let's spin the wheel. Madcap Experiment? Not Cataclysmic again. Oh, no! Oh, that is the worst. Wow. Oh. Oh, our opponent had one draw step and it was a sensor. We even got the Thought Seize. Well, Doomfall. And then our opponent, oh my goodness. That was very disappointing. Well, that's Tormenting Voice. Pitch Cataclysmic. Still no white mana, but Doomfall our opponent. We know they don't have a counter right now. Essence Scatter, Dragon Master Outcast, Glimmer of Genius, Torrential Gearhulk. So what do we do? If we had white mana, I would be more likely to just take and then just try to refurbish after getting our Gearhulk countered. Oh man, that sensor draw. That sensor draw, I think, oh man, that was so good against us. Glimmer's our opponent's best card in this situation. Essence Scatter does stop our Gearhulk. Alright, we're going to take Glimmer. Essence Scatter, Gearhulk, random one-drop thing. Pass the turn. This does mean our Combustible most likely going to get countered. There's Outcast. Opponent passes. Well, let's kill the Outcast. Oh, opponent drew another counter. Oh my goodness. I think we got a cycle. This feels so bad, but we really need a white source. Play a Smoldering Marsh, pass the turn. Well, let's see what our opponent finds. Come on, white mana. Opponent passes. Well, let's Tormenting Voice. Discard Combustible Gearhulk. Not white mana. Play the Mountain. Pass the turn. Oh, no. I mean, we don't have that many white sources, but we should have drawn one by now. Oh, no. Yeah, now we're dead. Oh, deck. There it is. Too little. Way too late. Well, play Combustible Gearhulk. Play Combustible Gearhulk. Opponent counters. Oh, what a disaster. Yeah, there's Essence Scatter, as predicted. Play the white mana, finally. Pass the turn. But now our opponent's making 5/5s. Oh, wow! Oh, man. Well, we're going to lose this game, but we were definitely in this game, and a lot of things had to go wrong. So that part actually speaks pretty well for our deck. Madcap isn't bad. Let's spin the Madcap wheel. Our opponent's probably going to have to counter this, and then we get to refurbish. So that's actually potentially a pretty good draw. So opponent has Torrential. Yeah, this actually kind of works out. Gonna disallow. Yep. And now we refurbish, but what do we refurbish? Cataclysmic probably kills everything except Dragon Master Outcast. But then our opponent keeps making dragons. Combustible draws us some cards. I think we Combustible. I think we Combustible here and then hope that next turn we can get even more value out of our Cataclysmic. Opponent lets us draw. Alright. Pass the turn. Refurbish is good, but we still only have one white source, so we can't cast two in the same turn. Opponent has removal. Yikes. Yikes, yikes, yikes. So we're taking 11? Opponent's down to 2 cards in hand. Alright, we take 11. Down to 9. Opponent passes. So we Cathartic Reunion, pitch Cataclysmic, pitch Needle Spires. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Alright, play the Plains. I mean, this has to resolve or we lose. Refurbish Cataclysmic. No. Cycle Sensor, okay. So this theoretically keeps us alive. We're still in a fragile place if they can kill our Cataclysmic. We're actually just dead. Because this is an artifact, so they get to keep Torrential and also a dragon or something. Opponent keeps Dragon. Opponent keeps Torrential. Yep. Well, are we literally dead, or just mostly dead? Dead to removal spell on Cataclysmic. So what we need to do is chump, and then next turn we can double Gearhulk to clear the board. What do they got? Oh, there's the removal spell. Oh, man. Well, geez, we lost, but it was super close. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, take a second and click that like button down below. It's a great way to help support the channel for free. And you can find the next video in the playlist right here.